Hey, what's up, you guys? Ethanos here. We're here to spill the tea in our lovely nation, the United States of America. Separation of church and state is the idea that religion has no place in the government. Contrary to popular belief, the words separation of church and state are not in the Constitution because why would it be? That's too easy to say. It does say is Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Thanks, Founding Fathers. That makes things so much more easy for us. We'll know exactly how to interpret this a few hundred years later. Christianity is not the only religion that recognizes a creator in some form. The term is to ensure people of other religions do not feel left out or as though this nation only supports one religion. So where did the phrase separation of church and state come from? Jeff wanted to keep the government safe and far away from the church, so in his letter to the Danbury Baptists, he declared that we should build a wall of separation between the church and the state. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, those were his words. The Supreme Court's interpretation of the Constitution is that separation of church and state is an idea expressed in the First Amendment.
Now for our modern recreation of Jefferson's experience with the church.
Get out of my swamp.
No, Father, I want to be with my love.
No.
I want to be with Church Senpei.
Look at what you've done. You've influenced my child with your perversions and anime.
Interviews and questions. What does the phrase separation of church and state mean to you?
It means that government and religion should be separate.
It means that, to me, the church won't interfere with state issues, and state issues will not interfere with church issues.
Well, to me, it means that state and churches should not, they shouldn't be working together, especially when it comes to lawmaking.
That the government shouldn't use religion and coincide with.
Many people think that the separation of church and state is in the Constitution. It is not. The First Amendment mentions religion in 2 clauses. It mentions a bunch of other things too, freedom of the press and so on, speech. The First Amendment says that Congress, and because of some court decisions, this also applies to the states, but basically the government shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Separation of church and state isn't in the Constitution. It's from a letter from Thomas Jefferson around 1804-ish. But the concept goes back much earlier than that to Roger Williams, who was in Massachusetts. He was a Baptist minister, and he did not belong to the state church in Massachusetts. He criticized the government, so they arrested him, and they were just waiting until spring, it was winter, to send him to England for punishment. He was going to be in jail all winter, but he escaped, went south, and founded Rhode Island. The church that he founded is still there in Providence. So, from Williams and Jefferson, my understanding of the separation of church and state is that the institutions of church and state are separate. So, it does not preclude religious people from voting based on their values, but it does keep the institutions separate, and it means that anything the state does, it should do not primarily for religious reasons.
There is a separation between church and state, however, as many would know as well, is that we do have our dollar bills. They say things about God and our pledges of allegiance and stuff like that. So while there is some church separation between church and state, at the same time they do incorporate some church into the state.
I do not.
I believe that we are sort of an unofficial Christian nation, and that despite the fact that our forefathers put it in writing specifically that we would have freedom of religion, that we cross that line all the time. We have, Alabama has the Ten Commandments in the state capitol. We all over the place, we confuse that, and it was a very specific thing at the beginning to make sure that those were separated and that everybody has the freedom of religion and or non-religion. So, as myself as an atheist, I think that my protection should be there as well.
Because people don't really get on here to tell you, oh, you can't believe in this and that. Although there are people that do. Yeah.
Do you believe that phrases such as under God and in God we trust align the U.S. towards Christianity? If yes, do you think that's constitutional? Why?
I mean, historically, yeah, it happens. I mean, a lot of immigration is a hot topic now, but restricting immigration is not anything new. If you go back 150 years, most of the restrictions on immigration are to keep Southern and Eastern Europeans out, partially because they're not viewed as white at the time, Poles, Italians, so on. So part of it is racial, but part of it is also religious, and a belief that democracy is incompatible with Catholicism. So historically, absolutely, it happens. Certainly, we see the persecution of Mormonism, which is a very American religion. I'd argue theologically it's not Christianity; it's a separate religion, but it's a very American form of whatever it is. And so certainly historically it happens. I think we've seen in the past 15 years or so attempts to use zoning laws to prevent Muslims from building mosques, which I think some of the more insightful Christians have opposed, arguing that the First Amendment doesn't mention any religions. It just says, shall not prohibit the free exercise thereof. If your church is allowed to build a house of worship, any religion is allowed to build a house of worship. Yeah, I would argue we still see examples of that today.
Yes, they are.
Why?
Because there's still a lot of discrimination in the world, and we have experienced this and witnessed this on account of many terrible events that have happened in the past.
Of course. When you look at my First Amendment rights of freedom of speech, the idea that at any level I would have to swear to God, under God, pledge to God, is a violation of my First Amendment.
No, because it's just like a saying. Like most people, almost all people say that, and it's not really like, you don't really think about it like that when you're saying it.
That's a tough question because it really depends on where you come from. If you live in a diverse community, you're most likely to have different religions where you live. If you live in predominantly African American, it's usually Christian because of past beliefs. If you live in a community that's Cuban, it's Catholic because that's what they believe. Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that other religions are suppressed or at a disadvantage in America? Why or why not?
I don't believe that any religion should have any power over what people believe, making them choose what they do or don't do.
I think some of the really minority ones are like just looked at differently than, like, say, Christianity. That's really it.
Of course. An example would be if you look after 9/11, there were several mosques that had been destroyed in Manhattan, and the government did not let them rebuild. Had they been Christian churches, they would have been able to rebuild, but we said no, no. So that, I mean, it's an obvious violation of a specific religious belief.
Yes, they are.
Why?
Because there's still a lot of discrimination in the world, and we have experienced this and witnessed this on account of many terrible events that have happened in the past.
it's an interesting question. And I would say lawmakers of no religion should be allowed to make laws primarily based on religious views. Which is not to say that lawmakers do not draw on their religious views. You know, sometimes people criticize religiously motivated voters or lawmakers or whatever. We all have our values and we all bring them into the public square, and I don't have any problem with that. What I think runs into problems when religious voters just kind of say, "Thus saith the Lord," and expect everybody to just take their word for it. That I find a little bit problematic. So I support immigration. I oppose immigration. I support immigration. I mostly oppose abortion. I'm skeptical of the death penalty, all for religious reasons. I don't expect anyone else to have my views just for that reason alone, because that's the way that I construe religion. However, I'm going to have those views for a reason. And ideally, what would happen in making law and policy is that everyone would bring their views to the table.
Should politicians of other religions be allowed to make laws that govern the U.S. based on those religious beliefs?
Yes, because that's theirs, and if one can, then they all should be able to.
As of a couple years ago, now for-profit corporations have rights under the First Amendment, where I'm broadly very supportive of religious liberty, but I'm not sure why Hobby Lobby has religious rights. By definition, a corporation does not have a soul. It can't belong to a religion. It just is a little silly. I'm not, I don't know, I overall, I guess over the past few years, with a possible caveat for perhaps some local attempts to prevent Muslims from building mosques and whatnot, overall, I haven't seen
Of course. An example would be if you look after 9/11, there were several mosques that had been destroyed in Manhattan, and the government did not let them rebuild. Had they been Christian churches, they would have been able to rebuild, but we said no, no. So that, I mean, it's an obvious violation of a specific religious belief.
So here's the good stuff. Separation of church and state should be something that America strives for. The most obvious reason being that not everyone follows that religion. Even among Protestant Christianity, there are a variety of different groups with different beliefs. Making laws based on one belief system or religion would infringe on the rights of citizens who don't follow. Historically, it's been used as a tool for oppression. When the state and religion become one, it allows the perfect excuse for a government to harm its people. Infamous witch trials, where people could be accused of being a witch because they didn't attend church enough or they weren't acting the way Christians were supposed to act. Even today, we have politicians attempting to use their religion to justify their actions. One example is Trump's administration allowing healthcare providers to deny patients based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. Of course, it's fine to be religious. That's a constitutionally protected right. But that religion should not allow an individual or the government to harm other people. So, that was our project that we did. Yep, a project that we...
Wait, this video is over now. Go find something else to watch, or just watch this video. I know we had a lot of fun. But you can't stay on this end screen forever. No. This video is over now. So why are you still watching this? Do you not have anything else? I have lots of other videos that you can watch, and I'm sure you'll enjoy them just as much. Now I'm actually kinda concerned Did something horrible happen to you? Did you leave the room and forget you were watching YouTube? When you come back, I bet you're gonna be pretty confused. I would be too. Hey, are you subscribed to my channel? If you're not, you should totally subscribe to my channel. Thanks. And even if you're already subscribed to my channel, you could tell a couple friends to go subscribe to my channel. Because this video is over now. Over now. Go find something else to watch, or just watch this video. I know we had a lot of fun, but you can't stay on this end screen forever. No. This video is over now. I'm amazed that you're still watching this. I don't understand why. It's almost like you're trying to prove a point, but I don't know what that point is. Or you think there's gonna be something special at the end, but there's